What's up everyone and welcome to Robeytech. A couple of weeks ago I released a video detailing out the $500 build, which a ton of people absolutely loved and it generated a ton of comments. However, I got folks who asked, what would you upgrade? And what if I wanted to spend $1,000 on a build all up, knowing that I had to take into account Windows and taxes and all of those kind of like small additional expenses, not including monitor, keyboard, that sort of thing, just the PC all up. So I answered that question today, figuring about $250 for extras like OS and taxes. Here is the best build you can do for $750. No, and we aren't just gonna show you the parts. No. We're going to build it and test it to make sure that there are truth behind my claims. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Robeytech. Now, when I chose all of the parts for my $500 build, I was inking and optimizing every dollar to get the most I could out of a good CPU and GPU combo. Gaming and content creation are always the top of the list for me, given how many of you actually asked me to spec builds for that purpose. And the build I'm going to spec out today definitely fits that gaming category at 1080p, if not even 1440p. And also works as a decent content creation PC with a focus on gaming more than anything. Now, I don't have to caveat this build near as much as I did for the $500 build. When I added the extra money to move from $500 to $750, I added more graphical power, but I also brought up the overall quality of my components to ensure some new abilities like light overclocking and upgrading components like RAM were an actual option. So, less sacrifice in quality and components, which means less caveats.
Yay!
This PC will be a beast of a PC for 1080p high frame rate gaming for all of your mainstream FPS games like Fortnite, Apex, or Doom. And we also have the ability to run many of these games at 1440p or 2K resolution for those who don't know what that is, with some graphical options turned down. Now, I didn't spend any money on making this PC look good, minus my standard $35 for Asia Horse cable extensions. Look, I'm no monster. It's gotta look at least somewhat good. However, I did also find an alternative case from Cooler Master that will also make the build look cleaner. It provides a little bit more RGB and better airflow for only $10 more. Now I'm not gonna go much more into what I could do to upgrade this build because I already have a recommendation for a $1,000 build, which you can see in the step-by-step and benchmarks for right here. Now, enough babbling, now let's get into the parts. For the CPU, I chose the 6-core, 12-thread Ryzen 1600AF. This is the 12 nanometer refresh of the 14 nanometer Ryzen 1600. Performance-wise though, this thing does not perform like a Ryzen 1600, but is actually in some cases outperforming the Ryzen 2600. Now this was available for $85 over on Amazon and at $99 over on Newegg versus the $120+ Ryzen 2600, which makes this CPU an absolute steal. Now this has been a very popular budget CPU given the price to power ratio, and it's been an awesome seeing all of the folks who've been using this in my $500 PC build. The little beast is a crazy bargain and it's an easy choice for the core of this build. Now, I didn't get a lot of comments on AMD over on Intel. I think people understand my reasonings as to why we went AMD here. I know some people ask, and frankly, you just can't get an equivalent Intel offering that also includes a cooler for the same price. Nowhere close. Now, that's not to say that gaming you wouldn't benefit from like an i5-7600K, but they are literally twice the price with no cooler, making it hard to get into a PC at this budget. The cheapest Intel CPU I could find was the i3-8100 for close to that price, and it wasn't even realistic to recommend given the performance versus a 1600AF. There just isn't an equivalent Intel CPU option right now. For the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte B450M DS3H. An upgrade from the ASRock B450M for my $500 build. This one includes 4 DIMM slots for RAM, additional I/O in the back, 4+3 phase power upgrade, which means more stability and better overclocking potential. It's just a nicer board with more options. For the GPU, I chose the Zotac Gaming GeForce GTX 1660 Super, which is an upgrade from the 1650 Super in the $500 build. This is going to really unlock that uncompromised, oh I love that word, uncompromised, 1080p gaming at the high frame rates with great visual quality and even some good 1440p gaming as well. With some of the graphical settings turned down. Turn down for what? If you're gonna do 1440p. Now, if you're looking for an equivalent AMD recommendation, I would do a Gigabyte Radeon 5500 XT, which I put in the link in the description below. Again, drivers have been an issue, but are improving. I'm saying, which is good, but I myself haven't tested enough to put my name behind it yet. I know there are a lot of AMD fans, and I know that their cards are great bang for buck, but right now, if you're looking for it, 5500 XT is the one I'd go with. For RAM, I chose, and this should sound familiar, the Team T-Force Vulcan Z 16 gig in a 2x8 gig DIMM configuration of DDR4 3200 MHz RAM. This is always like the most Greek part of my video for anybody who's new. You had me until you read RAM, Roby. Well, reading RAM is my favorite thing to do. Not really. Anyway, this gives you the additional speed should you decide to upgrade to a 3000 series Ryzen in the future. And because the 1600AF does have the improved IMZ of the Ryzen 2600, 3200 MHz does work because we tested it and benchmarked it in our $500 PC build earlier in the month. For storage, an area that was severely limited on my $500 build, I went with a very respectable 1TB Crucial P1 M.2 NVMe drive. This gives you plenty of room for gaming and operating system, and those nice NVMe speeds of up to 2000 megabits per second. This will help you with game loading, OS responsiveness, and of course, video editing. Now finally, last but not least, we've got the power supply. And I wanted something that was at least bronze rated, unlike the very limited options I had when working on the $500 price point. I'll be honest, this was the part that I was the most concerned about when doing the $500 build. One PSU stood out for me, and that was the Cooler Master MWE 500 watt PSU. It's 80 plus bronze, and for only $65, it also is fully modular. Super happy about that choice, and also the fact that it will come to cable management. This won't be a nightmare given the fact that it has actually fully modular cables. Almost to the end, guys. Now I am super excited about this last piece. For the case, I chose the Cooler Master MasterBox MB311L ARGB Airflow Micro ATX case. This is a case I got to take a look at when I was in Vegas at CES this year, and released by Cooler Master in late February. I am a huge fan of the Cooler Master Q300L for my $500 build, but some of the limitations of the case have been rectified in the MasterBox MB311L. It has two 120mm addressable RGB fans in the front, better airflow through the mesh in the front, and tempered glass versus acrylic, which means it doesn't scratch. Now, for $10 more, that is crazy. It's definitely going to bring up the aesthetic appeal without hurting the pocketbook for sure. Now, that is it. That is the best $750 PC we're gonna build, and we're gonna test it here on the show in just a few minutes. Now this leaves you money for taxes, operating system, and maybe even a modder if you're looking to keep the whole thing under $1,000. Now let's just talk about the parts. Let's build it and see how it performs. If you are looking for a full build guide on how to build a PC step by step, you can check out my $500 step-by-step build guide right here. I'll also leave a link in the description below for my $1,000 PC build guide, which is even more in-depth than that one. Now, we'll still walk through the build here today, but it won't be near the amount of detail that you're used to in a step-by-step guide. I'm also going to be doing a live stream version of this build as well, which if I've completed, you can check out right here. This will be a lot slower, and I'll be walking through each part piece by piece. It'll be a lot easier to follow along. So if you're going to be doing this build, you can just check it out. And heck, maybe even win some keyboards, mice, or learn about some crazy tech deals at the same time. Now, let's talk about what you're going to need if you're going to do this build. I'm just going to run through this really quickly. Again, if you want more details, check out my step-by-step guides, but I just want to walk you quickly through what I take every time when I do a build like this. First and foremost, I have a nice big open clean area, which also has anti-static flooring that I have installed. But if you do not, you can always use an anti-static wristband like this. You can basically order them off Amazon. I have links for all this stuff in the description below. You also need a Phillips screwdriver, preferably magnetic like this one. You can use something like this, or they also have the iFixit kits. Again, also links in the description below. If you're gonna be serious about you doing PC building, I would suggest something like an iFixit kit. These things are absolutely amazing and come with some really crazy tools. This anti-static band and all that stuff comes in a kit, and that you can check that out in the description below. Some place to store screws, I use things like this. These are easy for basically storing your screws and making sure that you don't lose any screws. Some people also use magnetic bowls. Those are also very great options. Zip ties. I always like to make the joke about these. For some reason, The Verge calls them tweezers. These are actually called zip ties. Do not get that wrong, but zip ties like this are going to make a big difference and make it fun and easy for you to do your cable management. You also have something a little bit less permanent. These are Velcro ties. A lot of like motherboards and power supplies sometimes come with these. You can get these for pretty inexpensively. Again, check the description link if you want to get some of these. These are wire cutters. These are for basically clipping things when you finish zip tying them. They're going to make your cuts look super clean. They're nice and precise, something like these, super inexpensive. And then finally, a couple little additional things. I always like to have thermal paste on hand, so in case you end up touching the pre-applied thermal paste on your AIO, you have additional thermal paste to add. You also want something like this. This is isopropyl alcohol. This is actually how you clean off your thermal paste. If you want to apply your own thermal paste, this is what you'd use to clean it off. So you'd use this and, for instance, some paper towels. And then finally, last thing is I have something like this. This is like essentially a flashlight. I'm not going to turn it on because I don't want to blind you, but this is a flashlight. It'll touch a magnet and allows me to attach to it, and then I can get into areas that it's hard to see. Sometimes, especially with black cases, can make it hard for you to see in there. So having something like this. And then finally, Clorox disinfectant wipe or Goo Gone. I know these are hard to get given the human malware situation, so you might want to do Goo Gone. But again, a lot of cases and stuff like that have stickers. This makes it easy to get those things off and keep it nice and clean. So this is what I'm going to use to do the build. Let's go ahead and montage the build now. Well, as you can see, we actually got the build done. I have to say, building in this case was actually a breeze, but I want to give you guys a couple of tips. Number one, you'll notice in the fan in the back is a little bit different than the one that I used in the Montage. One thing is that this only supports with the splitter that comes with this case. It only supports a 3-pin versus a 4-pin, so I had to find a fan that only has a 3-pin connector, so that's why the fan in the back is not that super fancy Cooler Master SFM 120, which is what I was going to use in this build. Other thing, for the cable extensions, I would recommend, if you're going to put cable extensions, especially if you're going to have them the same way that I did, The one thing you need to know is that you're gonna have to disconnect the front panel connectors to run them through. It does fit, it fits nicely. It's just one of those things that until you build it, you never know order of operation. So again, run that cable extension if you're gonna use cable extensions, or you're gonna run your power through that slot down at the bottom. You're gonna need to run those before you hook up your front panel connectors, or it's not gonna look very good. Overall, build went together quite easily. It's very, very quiet. I will say, I know some people are probably asking, do you have to have the fan in the back? Yes, you do have to have the fan in the back. Make sure you account for that when you're budgeting for the build. I've got Windows installed, it booted no issue, which is awesome. For the most part, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna basically get Windows all completely set up, get it all updated, put on Apex and Doom, and then let's see how this puppy runs. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, or with the magic of YouTube, we'll be back right now. Okay guys, so we're actually in the game here. As you can see, we're getting right now 120. We're keeping a solid 120 right now. Here we go. Video, I've just got it set to Ultra. I think I've got it set to Ultra. We have lots of options. There's actually Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, but again, you are limited by the overall VRes, but in terms of the ability to do high frame rate gaming, like we're sitting at 130 frames, 160 frames in some cases for this. So we're gonna check out this level here. Gonna do some action. There we go. There we go. And this machine is having no problem whatsoever keeping a very high frame rate if you want to do competitive. And this game, I mean, this is a brand new game, and you know, in terms of Eternal, I mean, id, they like to push the envelope for sure. So yeah, feels good. It's amazing how like, this is the thing, is like, I like playing games, and like, I'm okay with changing some graphical settings where, I mean, you're obviously always going to make some sacrifices when you're looking at this price range for your overall graphical quality, but for the most part, right, like this is running really well in terms of how it feels and stuff like that. So wow, look at that. Oh, hey, what's up, buddy? How's it going? I'm just going to squeeze your head off. This is kind of gross, so avert thy eyes. Oh, I don't know what's happening. Some magical demon stuff. Oh, that's a lot of blood. This GPU and CPU combination, having a great time playing together. But now, that's enough of that. Let's check out some Apex Legends. Okay, so here we go. Now we're gonna play a little bit of Apex Legends. So more of a competitive FPS game, specifically where we're looking for stuff that specifically we want high refresh rates, right? Like where, you know, when you talk about pro level players, they're looking at 120, 144 frames per second here. In terms of optimizing, there's obviously some optimization here when you look at stuff like that. So turning down anti-aliasing, I've made some of those changes already to go ahead and sit there and make sure that we're getting greater than 60 FPS and easily 120 plus FPS in terms of our look. So we're just gonna jump into a game and see how this feels and see how this little puppy performs. Look at this, we're sitting at 120 frames per second. Did he have a gun? Did he get a gun?
How come I didn't get a gun? Did you get a gun?
He got a gun. Oh, good. There we go. Oh, shoot. Where's that guy? But yeah, you're looking at right here, you're looking at an average of 170 frames per second, which was great. So I think that this is completely capable of running any games in terms of, even if you wanted to run competitive at this point in time. So, but yeah, we're watching this right now. It seems to be running just beautifully in terms of as a machine and stuff like that. So yeah, let's go from there. Oh, well, that was quite the experience, but that's it. We're done. We've built a $750 PC. We basically bench tested it, showing that it could easily, and I do mean easily, with room, you have a variety of options, whether you're doing it 144 hertz, 120 hertz, or even just 60 hertz on your standard gaming monitor. This PC can easily, for 1080p gaming, take on most loads at actually some really good visual settings. Now, if you're looking to upgrade, you just want to get that little bit more, you can add $40 and you can pick up a 1660 Ti or a 5600 XT. But when you start getting above that, you start getting into the $1,000 mark, and then you can check out, again, that build for $1,000 that we showed earlier. Now for video editing, if you wanted to use this for video editing, this is a great video editing machine. The 1600AF is more than capable of handling your video editing and streaming needs. But you might want to consider adding a 1TB or 2TB SSD for additional storage. Adds about $300 to the build, but will make managing your videos and editing a whole lot less cumbersome. You can check the links from the description below for those upgrade parts and anything else that you need there. Well, what did you guys think? I'd love to know all of your thoughts on this build below. Now, I know this was a new format. We haven't done this kind of format for builds before, so let us know what you thought about our new format in the comments below. Let us know if you particularly like this build, if there was anything else you'd additionally want to see. I know from the comments that I got on the $500 build, people were looking for higher frame rates. We made sure that we used a high frame rate monitor with that awesome Zowie monitor that we got, which is capable of 240 FPS. I'll put a link to the description on that below as well. But that's it for Robeytech today. Let us know what you thought about today's episode in the comments below as well. What did you think about the build? Was there anything that wasn't clear? Are you gonna build this PC? We'd love to know, and tell us all about it. And if you would change any parts, what would they be? What do you think about the new case? Or I think this Cooler Master case. What did you think about the build in it? I was actually pretty impressed with how easy it was to come with, and it came with RGB, making it at least 80% more powerful. What did you think about the performance? Were you surprised by what you saw? Let us know about all of that stuff in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, be sure to slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a new video. Also, head on over to mixer.com/Robeytech and give us a follow over there for our live show every Wednesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific. We also are streaming simultaneously here on YouTube, so you can tune in right here as well. In fact, you can check out last week's episode right here. Also, be sure to follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at Robeytech, and check us over on Facebook.com/Robeytech. Finally, if you want to hang out with a bunch of like-minded techies, have questions about builds, or want to get some technical help or build suggestions, check out the description below for the Robeytech Discord link. It's a great and active community just waiting for you to be a part of it. Now, thank you so much for watching, and go build this PC. Heck, go play some PC games. See if you can do better than I can on Apex. That's it, guys. We'll see you later.